and the private sector. And among the states also, there are so much of difference of policies and incentives and other areas that need to be harmonized. Now, the most important thing for priority action, I suppose, would be on destinations. Government have been talking about 50 destinations of world class, and certainly a very desirable thing to do that. We have global standard destinations. But I think if we really have to have the 15 billion domestic tourists and all, and if we have to see that tourism does not remain confined to 5 to 6 states of India, you'll be surprised to see that domestic and foreign tourists both are 50 to 60% are within the 5 to 6 states. We have so much of potential that has been mentioned earlier that we can develop destinations. It is not necessarily that we have to develop destinations to the global standards. We have to open up the destinations that we have got. What we have to provide is that we have to provide connections. We have to provide, spruce them up a little bit, provide connection, provide hygiene, connectivity, and security, and wayside facilities. 80% of the domestic tourists travel by car or by road. So the wayside facilities, signages, and small things to be done. And I think that's where we need to develop destinations, and the destination development should go along with that the management in a way that we take into the local flavor, the local cuisine, local art, craft, and all that. So it all have to be built in. And the most crucial thing where we may fail is accommodation. But the gap is very big. Even today, the DG Tourism was saying that we have 1.8 lakh branded hotel rooms, whereas even today we need 4 lakhs. We have against 2.8 million required in the unbranded category, we have only 1.65 million. Way back in 2002, our tourism policy had indicated that if we have to have 1 million additional tourists, we need 30,000 extra rooms. And if you want to go from 10 million today to 100 million, you can imagine the number of hotel rooms you will require. At the time, it was estimated that the investment will be 4,500 crores in 2002 prices for that. There's a great potential for employment creation if we allow the private sector to come in, and Bhalla had talking about the infrastructure status incentives. Allow the private sector to come in and make investment, and every direct, it can create 1.5 million jobs with the requirement that we have got. And next, of course, would be connectivity. And great advance has been made in rail, road, and air everywhere. But it's a daunting task, very, very big task. Even to look at the people to come into India or to travel within. Again, the 2002 policy had indicated that for every million tourist additional, we need 29 extra aircraft. That's the size, etc., immaterial. And the estimated at that time was 21,000 crores was estimated to be the requirement. Now these are problems that we have to handle. Basically what we need today is, to sum up very briefly, because we will be going into the discussions, convergence of all the stakeholders. And in that, I would say that the public-private partnership government have been talking about, we need to make it systemic. There is no systemic interaction with the private sector, and the private sector will have to be the main player. The states will play the maximum role in the development of tourism in the future, the opportunities, development of destinations, anything that we talk about, and the states have to come on board. And it's not necessary to wait for making that tourism into the concurrence list and all that. The system as it works today, it is possible, and the states have to play that role. Development in a mission mode, yes, and then destinations in a professional management, effective systemic public-private partnership, and ease of doing business. if I go into the number of sanctions required, number of approvals required, etc., that's a roadblock. Now, not only we have to remove the roadblocks, we have to give certain incentives to the investment that is required. Incentives are actually producing much more income to the government. We have shown that if you give certain incentives for infrastructure status, it is not that you are losing money. The amount of money that will come back in through the investment is much more than the government would be giving them incentives. Incentives, industry status, etc., and technology and manpower. Manpower, of course, would be the key factor, because ultimately whatever AI does, it is the human being which will be driving that. Now, I congratulate first for this seminar. I hope your deliberations will add to the thinking of the government and in the implementation process, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that wonderful address. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor, Ms. Mugdha Sinha, is Additional Secretary to the Government of India and is currently the Managing Director of ITDC. With over 2 decades of experience in governance, she has held leadership roles, including Director General of Tourism at the Ministry of Tourism. Her dynamic and forward-looking leadership is strengthening ITDC's operations and aligning them with the nation's tourism vision. And I now have the proud privilege of inviting ma'am for the keynote address. Let's put our hands together to welcome.
Namaskar and very good morning to everyone. Honorable Lieutenant General Seth, the chair for this session, and also the president of the Foundation for Aviation, Sustainable Tourism, my respected super seniors and former secretaries of tourism, Shri Vinod Joshi sir, Shri Arvind Singh ji, Shri Bezbaruha ji, my colleague from the hospitality industry, Shri Atul Bhalla ji, and the Vice President of FAST, Shri VP Agarwal ji, delegates, students, ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media. It's indeed an honor to be here amongst our super seniors who've already laid very, very strong foundations for the deliberations of this seminar. But before I begin, my very, very sincere apologies. I was traveling last night and I think there was some confusion. I'm slightly groggy also because my flight got delayed last night and I landed post midnight. So my very, very humble apologies to everyone. And I really, really appreciate the fact that I was very warmly welcomed when I came. I would also want to wish everybody a very happy World Tourism Day, which the ministry and the government is celebrating today. And to be a part of this seminar on the eve is very nice. Just before I came here, Arvind sir was telling me that everybody seemed to have spoken everything. So you will have to bring in the government perspective. But I think I also bring in a disruptive perspective a little bit, because I think as a policy maker, I always say a good policy maker is one who can anticipate the future so that we don't end up being a regulator. So from that perspective, let me try and encapsulate all the views and visions that my respected super seniors have already placed before us and try and build on it and take you through a range. So my talk today will be focused on that range, and the range is of two kinds. One is the range from the global to the regional to the local perspective, which is very, very necessary. And then there is also a range of things that we need to do, and I'll try and touch more on the things that have not been spoken of. Say, for example, big data analysis, data insights, which is what the work that Ministry of Tourism and MOSPI are doing. I'll also talk of service standards, responsible tourism and sustainability, the ESG governance model, which is very, very essential, and how they impact procurement and all infrastructure. So let me begin with the geopolitics of the whole thing. We live in a VUCA world today. I have been saying that for some of us who've been part of the same circuit of seminars, where V stands for vulnerable, U stands for uncertain, T stands for complex, and A stands for ambiguity. And you know, this is, and VUCA is not just because we are having a theater of war somewhere or because of terrorist attacks. VUCA is the general turmoil that is happening in the world, in a transitory world. So I think that against this background, we